cops just revealed the creepy message written on shooter's note found in hotel room. We are now slowly starting to get more and more information as to the reasons behind last Sunday night's Las Vegas shooting spree, which left 59 dead and over 500 injured. As most of you who saw the official crime pictures have seen up to now, there was some type of note left by the shooter on the nightstand in his Mandalay Bay hotel room. Everyone was expecting this note to explain why this murderer did this, but what has now leaked about said note leaves us with even more questions than we previously had before the release of this important information. According to local Las Vegas authorities, the note contains a cryptic series of numbers which sadly furthers the mystery around what drove this murderer to commit the worst mass shooting in modern U.S. history last Sunday night. It is not currently known what the numbers mean, but the piece of paper was located near Paddock's dead body when police stormed the room. It is not thought to be a suicide note of any kind, but it is now currently under analysis by the FBI. Let's hope authorities can manage to figure out at least some vague reason as to this murderer's thinking. The Wrap reports. The Secret Life of Las Vegas shooter Stephen Paddock. At least 59 people were killed and another 489 were injured in a massacre at a country music festival in Las Vegas on Sunday, but still little is known about the attack's perpetrator, Stephen Paddock. The 64-year-old's friends and family said they never suspected Paddock of planning a shooting, and Las Vegas police said he was not on their radar prior to him committing the deadliest mass shooting in modern U.S. history. Paddock died from a self-inflicted gunshot wound in the Mandalay Bay hotel room, from where police say he opened fire on the crowd of concertgoers. He left behind no suicide note, leaving investigators to piece together a motive for his actions. But here's everything we do know about Stephen Paddock. He was a high-stakes gambler. Paddock's brother described him to reporters on Tuesday as a rich guy who spent a great deal of money on gambling, specifically video poker. Paddock would spend his winnings on his few friends and his family, including their 89-year-old mother, Eric Paddock said. If you were Steve's friend, he would spend money on you. According to CNN, when Paddock bought a house in Mesquite, Nevada, in late 2014, he simply listed gambling as his source of income and paid in cash, telling one of the real estate agents that he gambled more than $1 million a year. He held many different jobs. Little is known about Paddock's professional life other than the fact that he worked a number of different kinds of jobs. Paddock shared a Texas real estate business with his brother for decades, according to the New York Times, but his last known full-time job was 30 years ago. He was employed for 3 years by a predecessor to defense contractor Lockheed Martin in the late 1980s. CNN reported that records showed Paddock owned 9 properties throughout Nevada, Florida, and California. He also worked as a letter carrier for the U.S. Postal Service in the 70s, as an IRS agent from 1978 to 1984, and at the Defense Contract Audit Agency in 1984 and 1985. He lived in a retirement community with his girlfriend. Paddock lived with Marilu Danley, a former hostess at the Atlantis Casino in Reno, Nevada. Danley was in the Philippines at the time of the massacre, a trip paid for by Paddock, who also sent $100,000 for her family to buy a home. She said she had no knowledge of his plans. I knew Stephen Paddock as a kind, caring, quiet man, Danley said in a statement read by her lawyer. He never said anything to me or took any action that I was aware of that I understood in any way to be a warning that something horrible like this was going to happen. Danley returned to the U.S. on Wednesday and was questioned by the FBI. His father was a bank robber wanted by the FBI. Paddock's father was Patrick Benjamin Paddock, who was arrested in 1961 for robbing a Valley National Bank in Phoenix in 1960. Also known by the names Chrome Dome, Old Baldy, and Big Daddy, Paddock landed on the FBI's most wanted list after escaping a 20-year prison sentence at Federal Correctional Institution at La Tuna, Texas. He was arrested in 1978 in Oregon, where he was running a bingo parlor under the name Bruce Werner Erickson. No religious affiliation. No political affiliation. He just hung out. No motive was immediately clear for the Vegas massacre, the deadliest mass shooting in modern U.S. history, a fact that seemed to confound those close to Paddock. Eric Paddock told reporters on Monday that his brother had no religious or political affiliations. "My heart is destroyed for all these people, but I can't tell you why Steve did what he did," he said. "It never occurred to me in any way whatsoever that he was planning violence against anyone," Vanley said in her statement on Wednesday. He bought 33 guns in the last 12 months. Paddock's relatives and neighbors said they didn't know him to be much of a gun owner, but police found dozens of weapons in the Mandalay Bay hotel room from where the shooting took place, and several more at his Nevada home. A law enforcement official told USA Today that Paddock went on a buying spree, purchasing 33 firearms in the last year alone. Paddock had bump stocks and similar devices attached to 12 semi-automatic rifles, allowing them to mimic the gunfire rate of automatic weapons. Police also found more than 50 pounds of explosives and 1,600 rounds of ammunition in his car in the hotel parking lot. He may have targeted other festivals as well. Paddock also booked a Las Vegas hotel room overlooking another music festival the weekend before the massacre. He booked an Airbnb near the Life is Beautiful music festival from September 22 to 25. Officials told ABC News that Paddock had reservations at several Chicago hotels in August, including at the Blackstone Hotel, which overlooks Grand Park where Lollapalooza was taking place. "What we know is Stephen Paddock is a man who spent decades acquiring weapons and ammo, and living a secret life, much of which will never be fully understood," Las Vegas Police Sheriff Joseph Lombardo said on Wednesday. "The more we start getting clues about this murderer, the more questions we seem to be left with. Why would a 64-year-old millionaire who had never had any kind of altercation with authorities, other than a moving violation 7 years ago, suddenly go off and kill so many people? This clearly wasn't the case of someone just snapping because of all the planning that took place to pull this crime off. It must have taken months, if not years to